Greetings and God bless. Welcome to another episode of Pastor Mike, Dynamic Voices for a Diverse Church, powered by The Witness, a Black Christian collective. I am your host, G. Tyler Burns. You can follow me on Instagram at G. Tyler Burns. Please follow at your own risk. And joining me, as always, is the founder of The Witness, very extensive bio, the man, the myth, the legend, the I don't know how many time best-selling author, Mr. Blue Check Verified himself, Dr. Jemar Tisby. You can follow his writings at jemartisby.substack.com. What's going on, bro?
I feel like, for integrity's sake, if we want this bestseller thing to be true, folk need to go out and get the book. I mean, look.
It is true. What you mean it's not true?
It ain't true. I had
It is true.
New York Times bestselling book. The others have
The others are
sold.
bestsellers.
Bestsellers on what?
They're bestsellers to us.
On the G. Tyler Burns scale. That's all right. That's all right. We'll be talking a lot about data this episode. And so...
we talk about church, bro. We talk about church and we talk about people coming back to church. There's almost like this post-pandemic faith boom. I think we saw it on Easter Sunday.
Hold up. Run that back. What? The what?
There's almost this post-pandemic faith boom.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's original or not.
The title of the episode. Post-pandemic faith boom.
We always have this joke about people dropping it dropping the title of the movie or the show during the show.
During it, yeah.
It's almost like a post-pandemic faith boom, huh?
It's almost like this is so strange, but I've seen stranger things.
See, this you're giving them the inside jokes. You can't give them the inside jokes. They're not going to understand it. But we've been talking about this, and I think I noticed it on Easter Sunday this year.
Oh.
And on Easter Sunday this year, I saw a lot of people commenting on how full their sanctuary was, how many people decided to come, how many guests that they had, visitors, how many people tried out their church for the first time, were just intrigued and interested and engaged with what was going on. And it led to many people asking this question, which seems like a silly question to ask, but is church back? We back in church now? Like, we've even had some conversations recently about how people are not so much back in church. So now to kind of see the shift or to see a different side of it is intriguing.
It was really intriguing. It was almost like Easter was back, right? Like your church, I would love to hear about the experience where you couldn't even be in your typical sanctuary. You were expecting more people, moved to a bigger venue for that Sunday. A lot of different churches seemingly in that boat. So what was this Easter like in terms of that idea? Church is back.
Yeah, I think it was interesting. Last year we did multiple services in our venue, and we always do multiple services because our venue isn't the biggest, it's smaller. So we don't want to make it feel like people are on top of each other, and it's hot. And, we just want to try as best as possible to create, remove obstacles to create as welcoming, accessible environment as we possibly can. And so having multiple services, it blasts out your team. And so I was like, hey, if we can, I just love to keep it at 2, just like we normally do. But we were thinking we probably need to go to a bigger venue to accommodate it, but also to give the team a little bit more space, stretch out, do what they want to do, experiment, do some creative things, whatever it may be. And so we decided on a venue that was a historic local venue downtown. And so I just reached out to them. I actually thought they would be booked, but they weren't. So
nice. We
were able to get in there and have 2 services. Far, far, far exceeded our expectations.
Wow.
For real. Probably double the attendance of last year's Easter, which we wouldn't have been able to fit in the building. But I think because people knew it was a bigger venue that they kind of stretched out. They were able to come, invite their friends, invite family members. We had some people travel in from different states.
Whoa.
We had a lot of people that just walked up, and because our team was so welcoming, excited, energetic, they literally just walked inside. They were like, oh, I'm just trying to see what's going on, So it was fascinating to watch. And I think it far exceeded my expectations because I just know how difficult it is to get people to come to church nowadays because they just want something more than just attending church. People aren't just going to come to church just to attend church, right?
Yeah.
They want something more. And so last week, actually, a few days ago, I was in a barbershop and I was sitting down waiting. And one of the guys who had just got his haircut, he got out of the chair and I didn't recognize him or know him or anything, but he came over to me, he dapped me up. He's like, hey man, you don't know me, but I just I went to your church last week for Easter. Just want to say, man, it really blessed me, everything, which was cool,
I
you
love
know,
that.
like
Absolutely.
you're not expecting to see that in public spaces. So it was really cool just to hear people just say that blessed them and impacted them. But I think there's openness because church nowadays, if you are willing to innovate and if you are willing to be accessible and if you are willing to question and interrogate the mode and the method of how you have done things before, people are open to that. And I think they're open to that, especially in blackface spaces, because we still, no matter what our church attendance might be, or if it's hybrid or physical or digital or whatever it may be, we still believe the Bible. Like we're
Yeah.
still using the Bible. We're
Yeah.
still engaging with the scriptures. And that leads to a study that we came across that really talks about the state of the Bible and how black people are using it.
Yeah, you sent me this study by the American Bible Society, and what you were particularly interested in is the section on Bible users by race and ethnicity.
Of course.
So this is a study.
It's a black Christian podcast. You know what I'm saying?
American Bible
It's almost like
Society.
we're passing the mic or something.
Here we go. Title placement. So this year's study, it's comparing 2024 and 2025. And the bottom line is Bible use has increased. Now, they set a relatively low bar. So it's like, do you access the Bible on your own outside of church or some organized event 3 times a year or more?
That's good.
So it's a low bar, but what they're trying to get at is, are people reading the Bible for themselves? And so what you were pointing out to me was this stat that says 2 out of 3 Black Americans, 68%, are Bible users. By far the highest proportion of any ethnic group in our survey. And that does represent somewhat of an increase. Historically, Black Protestant churches, 72% are Bible users. Historically, most notably, the historically Black Protestants moving up 9 points from 63% in 2024 to 72% in 2025. So Black folk be reading the Bible.
If you think about it, though, wherever we go, we're going to intersect with something biblical or some conversation about spiritual matters, even if it's Christian, non-Christian, whatever it may be, religious, whatever it may be. We're going to intersect with something in every place that we go. Whether it's the barbershop, where there's great conversation about it, whether it's beauty salons, whether it's our family reunions, whether it's our art and entertainment, right? Popular movies will have some spiritual element, religious element, right? If they're black films, they'll typically have some sort of intersection, right? So if you think about it, it's just something that's constant. And I had this funny, speaking of the barbershop, I had this funny experience where I talked about it recently at our church. And I even said something online. If you follow me online, G. Tyler Burns, follow Jonas. I said, man, the barbershop found out I'm a pastor and it's ruining my life, right? So, my barber is always known, but the barbershop itself didn't know. Now, one of the dudes that's doing flight school in the military, he came down. He'd been attending our church for like 2 or 3 weeks. We have so many flight school students. And he hops up at this barbershop, doesn't know it's my barbershop. And he starts inviting the whole shop to church.
Were you there when he's doing this?
No,
Okay.
I had no clue.
All right.
I had no clue. I wasn't there. He didn't know it was my barbershop, anything. He just, heard this barber was good. It was a totally different barber than mine. Heard this barber was good. So he starts going to the shop, invites people to church. They're like, yo, where you go to church? And he's like, Rye City. It's like, who the pastor? It's like, Tyler. He's like, oh, okay, we got a Tyler that comes in here. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's like, wait,
G. Tyler?
Nah, they don't know me like that. It's like, wait, what? And so he shows them a picture. Like, yo, that's the dude that be getting the cut over there. Mike was like, yeah, that's his church. And so now they're like, dang, we didn't know he was a pastor.
Wow.
So I joked, like now every time I come in, they change the music. So I said, bro, stop doing that. Play that Gunna. Like, play Kendrick Lamar.
The man of God is in here. Y'all
we went
change the
from
radio
Kendrick
station.
Lamar to Al Green. I told my church we went from Kendrick Lamar to Going Up Yonder. I'm like, bro, they don't cuss no more.
Everybody got their Bible app open while they waiting.
No, for a couple of times they didn't cuss, right? So for a couple of visits, I'm like, man, why y'all acting different? I was like, why is it so quiet in here? They was like, man, you old jive turkey you. And they were like looking at me. I'm like, I'm dead serious. They literally said that. I'm like, bro, y'all, I'm not trying to do all that, man. Like,
the real question is, are you ashamed to Jesus in the barbershop?
Look, so that was what I talked about. But here's the thing. Pastors, we just want to live. All right. Just let us live. Yes. We regular human beings. Every time you see us, you don't have to give us a confession. Like, you don't have to, we regular human beings. But I will say one thing about that is what has been interesting is I've actually been able to get a gateway and see the hunger of people who are non-church. I don't think any of the people, the actual barbers in the shop, regularly, consistently go to church. And what is fascinating about that is now I feel like they were having them before in some way, shape, or form, but now I feel like they're having real, open, honest conversations about, quote unquote, getting my life right. And I think part of this flip side is I think people see how wild the world is and how much things are changing within the context of our country. Right. And people are now asking the question, whoa, I need something, right? I need something to hold on to. I need something to believe in. And so a couple of the barbers, I've had really, really great conversations with them, unprovoked. They've just come to me and it was like, man, I don't know if y'all do baptisms. Like, I would love to get baptized. I've been reading the scriptures a little bit, been digging here and there. Man, just really need your help to help understand it. And I don't really know where I can go or anything. And for most people I've noticed, they don't really have a pastor that they can be accessible to. Like, there's not a pastor that they can like see and ask questions of. And so a lot of them, they go to church and they may never know their pastor, never have any interaction. So it's been fascinating to see how actually open people are, if given that opportunity, at least to attend, at least to check it out, at least to try it out. Because I think now there's something in us and in our DNA, and there's something in our cultural expression that's just like kind of drawing us back. Even if it's not even, and I've seen it even non-Christian, whether it's Nation of Islam or whatever, like people are wanting something that they can hold on to. But I think especially what's deep in our DNA has been, you know, the gospel and our use of the Bible, even as folk wisdom, right? You know, even as just throwaway phrasing, even as little statements of advice.
Yeah, it's connective tissue. It's culturally connective tissue. And it makes sense that broadly speaking, people are looking for something to hold on to because we are in the midst of a political maelstrom. It's a massive storm. And whether you are a political news junkie like I am, or you just occasionally hear some news in the barbershop,
that's almost even worse. Like, bro,
there's like really no excuse
I've actually nailed down that's actually worse. Like, I tried to step away from it and just get a little bit here and there, but a little bit here and there is actually worse than not actually knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
It's worse, bro, because you can panic off of like little bite-sized pieces of news.
We at this point we need to be very politically literate for sure. But in the midst of that, you feel tossed and turned in all kinds of directions, and the world feels out of control. And so, in that context, you want to hold on to something that seems firm and stable. Yeah. For a lot of people, that's faith, and their particular way of accessing that, as this study shows, is the Bible, is the Word of God. And to your point that this is sort of in our DNA, it at least historically, right? Yes. In the midst of so many storms of injustice that Black people have faced throughout every era of U.S., what have we held on to? We held on to the church. We've held on to faith. We've held on to the supernatural. We've held on to religious community. And we've held on to, probably more than any other particular artifact, the Bible.
Yes.
Right? So it is there. And I think what's happening now is that historical memory and that cultural reflex is kicking in. Like, for me, what's been interesting in this moment of injustice where we've had to protest, it feels like as a people, Black folks are kind of rusty. Like, you know, it's there, but maybe this was back in our high school days.
That's
not quite as agile or have the same facility with it, but it's still there. And so I think what's happening with a lot of people is realizing, like, it's not just enough that I'm Black and have experienced the world as a Black person. It's not just enough that I have these impressions of our history. I actually have to go out, learn, have a faith for myself, do these things, these justice acts, not as individual isolated actions, but as practice. And I need some sort of philosophical, theological
Some sort of grounding,
foundation to
something to
ground it on.
ground me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's take a break and then we'll come back and talk about some of the things that are working and maybe some things that people are looking for. So we'll be right back here on Pastor Mike. Well, greetings and God bless, family. This is your host of Pastor Mike, Tyler Burns, and I am so excited that we're still doing Pastor Mike 11 years after we started. Think about this. 11 years after we started, we're still doing this. And the reason why we can do it is because people like you have supported us from the beginning. We would not still be here if not for the support of people who are our patrons. And if you go to patreon.com/Pastor Mike, if this podcast has helped you in any way, shape, or form, if we've encouraged you to think more deeply about race and justice, if we've inspired you to make change right where you are, if we've been an oasis in the desert in the midst of toxic church spaces, we need your help. We need your support. For just a few dollars every single month, you can keep us going. You literally, as our listeners, keep us going. So head to patreon.com/Pastor Mike. We're passing the mic to you for your support so that we can continue doing this podcast that so many people love. Thank you so much for your support. If you are already a patron, and if you're not, just a few dollars a month. Thank you so much. So we're back talking about this post-pandemic faith boom that we've talked about, I guess, we've coined. I feel like somebody said this and I took it from somebody saying it. I don't know. But, you know, as what do they say? The first time you quote somebody, second time, as someone has once said, and then the third time, as I always say.
Okay. Yeah.
So, you know, you asked off camera, off mic about certain things that were going on at our church that I guess kind of work or attract people. So very interesting, bro. Like the average age of our church now, a church member at our church is 27.
No way.
Yeah. So
Wow.
average age is 27. So when I took over, it's 55.
Wow.
And that's been kind of a 2-3 year journey of like transitioning that. It happened far quicker than what I thought it would. Thought it would probably take like 8 or 9 years. It took probably 2 or 3. And it's interesting. Like, I think the thing that people are attracted to and interested in is a number of things. But I think, first of all, when we talk about the Bible, they really love inductive Bible study. I just want the church to not give up on Bible study. You know, I told somebody recently, and I even said it publicly, I have 3 soapboxes. Emotionally Healthy Spirituality, which is a book concept I think every Christian should adopt, read, study. The church being bold and open about justice, and Bible study. Bible study is that third soapbox. And I'm telling you, it doesn't have to be complicated, but it's a lot of effort. And for us, Bible study has not worked the traditional way. It's been inductive. It's been at tables. It's been multi-ethnic, multi-generational groups. Majority Black, majority young, but multi-ethnic, multi-generational groups at tables, and a specific method of empowerment. And that has led to all kinds of drastic changes, but also it's made Bible study consistent, the most exciting thing that people look forward to at our church.
Wow.
The one thing, like now, people literally will come to Bible study first before they attend church, because people would be like, no, you got to come to midweek. Like, you got to come to midweek before you come. Like, man, I'm going to come on Sunday. Nah, come to midweek. And it's like, what? So it's kind of created a totally different culture of expectation, anticipation.
So what is the approach of inductive Bible study? What makes it different?
Yeah, man. So it's funny. I started doing inductive Bible study because I learned it from one of my mentors who was really involved in InterVarsity, and InterVarsity Christian Fellowship did a lot of what's manuscript Bible study. Some may call manuscript Bible study, what we call inductive Bible study. And the first time I did inductive Bible study was actually in a maximum security prison. So I was accompanying this mentor to a maximum security prison and would go there probably once a month. And I saw that the men who were incarcerated there, they knew how to do inductive Bible study. So she had taught them how to do it. And so we started doing it. I'd never done it before. This was probably like 12 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. And And so they were making observations that I had no idea. Like I was like, oh, I didn't know how you do this. And they could see things in the text that I couldn't see. So the inductive Bible study method is different than the deductive Bible study method. So in the deductive Bible study method, kind of approach the text like a prosecutor. So you have a point and you're looking for evidence to prove the point. But the inductive method, you approach the scriptures like a detective with an open, curious mind. And so we're trying to find out, what did this mean to its original readers? And then how can it be applied to our lives? So 3 steps, y'all can look it up, but observation, interpretation, application. And so we've used it as kind of this empowerment tool for our church, because the win is legacy. So for us, the reason why we do inductive Bible study is not for the people who will be in the room, but because we believe that the people in the room will one day teach children, grandchildren, people who they're trying to disciple, and it'll transform their lives. And so it's actually multi-generational impact. That's kind of why we do it. And so really it's open forum. I mean, we have our specific moments and we study. We're teaching them how to use commentaries, when to use commentaries. We're teaching them, what does it look like to actually use Greek and Hebrew, and to actually know how to look up words, even if you don't know syntax or, tense. But you can at least look up words to gain at least some insight into meaning, and maybe that'll put you on a deeper dive. What does it look like to actually understand meta narrative, right? Grand narratives within the scripture, also sub narratives as well. What does it look like to have context clues based upon the author and the audience? What does it look like to approach the themes of the Bible, right? So we do all this, and we always do inductive Bible study on the sermon text that I'm going to preach that Sunday. So it's like great anticipation. So they already know where they got their Bibles marked. They already know. And then they can also, but it's also a accountability tool for me, because we're exegeting the scriptures in community, but I don't take what they say and use it as points. I just, what the approach of the text is. And then I'll spend 10 more hours with this. So, because I'm going to spend 10 more hours with it, like I'll have a different approach and view. But I think sometimes they're like, yo, we put you in a straitjacket. Like, how are you going to get out of it? That type of thing, And so people ask questions, and sometimes like people ask basic questions. So one story I'll tell you is this one guy, this couple had been coming to our church, and then they said, hey, pray for so-and-so, this young man. And this couple, the husband is a debate coach at a local college. And so he's like, yo, pray for one of my former students. He's coming over tonight, and he has questions about faith. And, they said, we've been praying for him for like 3-4 years. So we've been praying for him for like 3-4 years. And now he's finally open to asking questions about faith. I don't know. They're like literally like, I don't know if it's post-pandemic or post-loss in his life or whatever, but he's just been more open. So we prayed for him, had some of the intercessors pray. And it was so fascinating. The next week, dude comes to church with him. They invite him to church. He comes to church, gets saved right there. Wow. First Sunday, gets saved. Yeah. First Sunday, makes a profession for Jesus. And immediately is like, when's Bible study? Starts coming to Bible study. And asks every question in the book, dog. Okay, so how is God? I'm in front of everybody. So you got like your church mothers, you got your 95-year-old church mother, you got your whatever, anybody. He's like, so tell me, how is God good if he's going to punish people? Isn't he supposed to be a God of mercy? But this text, it seems harsh to me.
Yeah.
And we're like, wrestle with that. Like, what, you know what I'm saying? Yes, like, just wrestle with it. I feel like people have enjoyed that, but it's also an empowerment tool. If you view church as something to attract people to it, rather than a station to empower people to live it, then what you receive from it will always be disappointing. But I think a lot of people have built themselves on raising up get as many people in the room as possible. Cool. So now what? What are we going to empower them with that can take them to go live? Anyway, that's my soapbox. I'm sorry.
I appreciate that. And, I'm curious. You sort of named some of it, but like, why would Wednesday night be the part that they're excited about? Is it that we're in smaller groups? It's relational. I get to interact. I'm not just listening or absorbing, kind of a thing. What would you say is are the components that make a midweek Bible study
Yeah.
so
Well, they're
exciting.
relational groups, their connectivity, and what has built out of it is table community.
Mm.
So now you'll have people that you'll actually walk with over the course of time,
Are these
right?
consistent groups at every week, or
It
just different
switches
folks?
up, but
Okay.
people come together,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so
Okay.
because they come together, they have sessions after the session. They're like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, well, when we meet up after bowling on Friday night, we'll pull it back out and we'll go through the text a little bit more and see what it says, right? Or we'll have greater conversations around it, or we'll wrestle with this, or we'll put it in the group chat. So there's that. But I think also, man, people just want to be heard, and they actually want to know that church is gonna be something that they can use. That's not like anybody can do cultural. Anybody can do inductive Bible study. Anybody can, no matter where they come from. So it's not like so far away from them and so lofty that they can't grasp it,
Mhm.
because we're literally giving them the same, that first sheet handout is the same. It doesn't matter if you're coming this Wednesday night or a Wednesday night 2 years from now. It's going to be the same sheet.
Mhm.
So it's literally like, this is our playbook. So anybody can adopt it. And after 2 or 3 times, you memorize it. And you can actually take this. Oh, I can use this in my daily Bible study. I can use
Absolutely.
this in my life. I may not know everything about the text, but I can at least get a better grasp on what it meant to its original readers. And I can help somebody else do it as well. And then I think it's also people are not used to the church being that open.
Hmm.
So I'm walking around and they'll ask a question. And I'll just be like, I don't know. They'll be like, what?
You the pastor. You got
Like,
all
what
the
you
answers.
mean? Like, I'm like, well, I have my opinion on this, but this is actually debated. And throughout church history, people have debated it. So here's 3 opinions. I lean here. What do you think? And they're like, oh, snap. Well, all right, wrestle with that.
Mhm.
You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
sit in that. Well, I'm not trying to necessarily tell you every single answer to every question, but I am
Church
trying
being
to
a place
give
of
you something.
inquiry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm trying to give you
absolutely.
something that you can press into, wonder about. There's mystery attached to it. So, anyway, man, I think those types of things have been crazy. Like, they've been really, really helpful for our church. Justice has been a big influence within the context of how we do things. Emotionally healthy spirituality. I don't know. People just want healthy, safe spaces of faith where they can learn more about God, grow in their walk.
I mean, it's really interesting that we're talking about this specifically in terms of Bible readership,
Yeah,
because that's something I've really struggled with,
yeah,
and I've been open about this on other episodes. But since this sort of reckoning, ousting from white
yeah,
evangelicalism, I've had to completely rethink
yeah,
the theological tools that
bro.
they gave me to access the Bible, which weren't all bad. I mean, I'm very glad that I took several semesters of
Yeah,
biblical Hebrew and Greek and courses on different genres and
absolutely.
narrative styles in the Bible.
Game
That's
changer.
all really helpful. But at the same time, when you are part of a community that gets it so wrong on so
Yeah,
many issues, especially around justice, especially
right,
around race, you gotta question the tools that they're using, or at least the ways in which they're
right,
using the tools.
right.
And so that for me has uh, taken on its most concrete form in the way I access the Bible.
Yes.
So it's like I don't even trust my interpretation
Yeah,
because of the
that's so
tools that I've
good.
been giving, or at least the ways they've been used, right?
That's so good.
Um,
That's good, bro.
Now I'll say this: it has forced me to expand my definition of discipleship and devotions,
Yeah,
so that walks in God's creation
absolutely.
are spiritual practices. Journaling is a spiritual practice. Christian fellowship, talking to people, is a
Absolutely.
spiritual practice. Remembering that when the Bible was written, most people didn't have access
Yeah.
to a book they could put in their hand and read,
Exactly.
right? So
Exactly.
clearly there has to be ways
For
to
sure.
access the divine that aren't solely based on you having your own Bible, right?
Bro, like, and I think I'm so glad you bring this up, because I'll be honest, like, my personal devotion and personal time of Bible reading is far more simple than it used to be.
Hmm.
And for me, like, I've really embraced the repetition of simple passages of scripture read slowly and considered deeply. So my morning rhythm, which has been my morning rhythm since January 1, has been to listen to the Sermon on the Mount every single morning. And I've listened, and there's been certain parts of it, certain verses I've double tapped, and I've kind of highlighted, said, oh, that's for me today. There's been other moments where I've wrestled. It's like, what does that mean? There's a lot where I'm like, I don't want to love my enemies, dog. I've just kind of reflected, and I'll take it maybe in a little prayer time or in my walk, but bro, it hasn't necessarily been as complex.
Yeah.
It's just knowing that there's something that you can root and ground yourself in. And I've tried to tell people that I think the days of performative Christianity have long been over, but I think the mask is being pulled off of our performative spiritual practices, where it's like, man, we're doing this. No disrespect to it, nothing wrong. But people are like, we're doing this shred of like, we're gonna read the entire Bible in 30 days, and people have come to me been like, Pastor, I keep losing track. I'm like, bro, if you trying to read the whole Bible in 30 days, I'd lose track too.
That's a lot of reading.
That's a lot of reading, bro. Like, is your life really built for you just to read the Bible and that's it? Or is your life built for you to just, man, we used to mock it in reform space. Verse of the day. Look at that. Y'all you want is a little verse of the day?
Yeah.
Dog, yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting is a lot of the pastors and preachers who, even in reform circles, they would look up to, like a Martin Lloyd-Jones, they would take one verse or even half of a verse and do like an hour-long sermon. On a clause. Yeah.
And you're like, bro, what? And now it's like, man, we shaming people because they don't have no deep Bible study. Cool. We offer this because we want people to know how to handle the scriptures in their own private time in a way that's at least responsible and regimented.
Yeah. You want some confidence that anybody can open the Bible and learn.
And not be totally lost.
Right? But I think one of the key parts, and you mentioned this, but one of the key parts is that midweek Bible study that you're doing, it's in community. And
100%.
Something about doing that in conversation that makes scripture feel alive.
Bro, 100%. It's never failed.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's never failed. Unless people have come in, decided they just want to do it their own way or old way, or they're just going to ignore all the interpretation or the rules and everything. And, there's gentle place for pushback and all that. But honestly, anybody that wants to share and contribute can contribute. We'll wrestle with it. We may push back. We may disagree. And we have done that. People have been like, Pastor, I don't agree with that. I'm like, okay, I understand.
But it's truly the priesthood of all believers. Like, we're in this together. The last thing I'll say is what this sounds like is a place of inquiry, not necessarily settled answers.
Yeah, nah.
There's a few things we can be certain of, right? About Jesus, about the basics, about the foundation. But there's a lot that we just don't know for certain. And these are not just like archaeological, historical matters. These are mysteries of the faith.
Yeah.
The Trinity is a mystery.
It's a mystery
of the faith, right? And so
absolutely. We were just talking about this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
People were like, we were breaking down the difference of modalism, Godhead, Trinity. Yeah, I was like, it's kind of mysterious. And somebody was like, well, it's the water and the vapor and the ice. And I'm like, probably not.
Every analogy falls short.
Every analogy just fails when you build on it, fam. Right. Like, probably not. It may just be something mysterious that kind of operates that you kind of have to believe and you lean into, and you're like, man, I kind of wrestle with it, but you see its presence. You see its shadow everywhere you go. You see a footprint. You catch a whiff of it.
Yeah.
It should be alive. And I think that's the issue.
Yeah.
Is because we don't see people engage in faith because they don't feel like faith comes alive to them.
Yeah.
And if it's not alive, what good is it?
And if we look to the Bible as a book of answers, we lose the true value of it, which is a relationship.
Bro,
Yeah. Uh-oh.
All this bibliology stuff, bro.
on the
Like,
Bible. Yeah.
people tear me up with that, bro.
I'm just like,
man, where's the book, chapter, and verse for this? Where's the book, chapter, and verse for justice? Genesis to Revelation.
Exactly.
What do you mean, bro?
Narrative arc of the Bible is God making what's wrong right.
Because you need a smoking gun to believe that God believes in. Well, why?
Because
bro?
you're approaching the Bible as an answer book and a user's manual rather than as a way to approach God and build relationship. Yeah. There are segments of Judaism that express this really well, where the majority of what it is about asking questions.
Yes.
And it's not about
good questions.
It's about living in the tension, and it's about trusting a God who doesn't give us all the answers in ways that we can understand on this side of heaven. And one of my most popular Substack articles is called "The People Who Don't Have Any Questions."
JemarTisby.substack.com.
Thank you. And that was a quote I got from a Jewish guy who interacts a ton with white evangelicals. And he was just reflecting on his experience with them. He's like, they're the people who don't have any questions.
Wow.
They have a pat answer for they've settled it all. And all you have to do now is check every single box. And he went further and said the reason why they don't have any questions is they fear mystery. But we need to be well acquainted with mystery.
That's crazy, bro. Wow. Selah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so good. Anyway, y'all, thank y'all for letting us nerd out about the Bible. Hopefully, this has encouraged somebody.
This is what the people want, according to the
statistics.
It's
what the people want. Yeah, would love to. If you have any questions about that, reach out. Be like, I've given away our handouts and everything. I don't know if it's an amalgam of other stuff with some original ideas. Like,
let me get the people.
But yeah, I don't know, reach out to me, G Tyler Burns, on whatever platform, and I'll send it to you. And we're looking at how we can video it, so we may video it and professionally produce it, so people can see how we do it or whatever.
Hey.
Where it's not original to us, but it is our way. So
someone once said,
right? As I always say.
Say.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in. If you're listening, of course, you already got us downloaded wherever podcasts are played, but we're also on YouTube as well. Shout out to the YouTube audience on YouTube, Pastor Mike Podcast. You can also support us, patreon.com/Pastor Mike. And as we always say, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you soon on the next Pass the Mic.